Welcome to another video. This is for Spyfall Part 2. And last night I was in a bit of shock, as I am with every Doctor Who episode, because it raised more questions than I thought could be answered, and I just kept thinking about it. So it starts up where Spyfall Part 1 leaves off. And we left the Doctor and her companions in peril. She was in an alternate universe, and her companions were on a plane with no cockpit, and it was crashing. So how do you get out of that? Well, simultaneously, the Doctor is in this alternate universe, and she meets up with a woman named Ada, who claims that she comes there in her dreams, that she passes out and she's recovered. And they leave one word in her mind, Kasavan. And the Doctor begs her to get away from that. Also, with the companions in mortal peril and a bomb on the plane with no cockpit, Ryan happens to look down and sees these metal plates, and it says Ryan, and he goes over Ryan Sinclair, and it's instructions on how to land a plane with no cockpit. So this is how they get out of it. But of course, the leader of VOR, Daniel Barton, who is quite a baddie, tracks it and realizes, like, is this plane that I intended to crash still heading for its destination? So the Doctor, while she goes with Ada, ends up in 1834. And this is not any Ada. This is Ada Lovelace, the inventor or one of the predecessors to the modern computer. Also, she meets Charles Babbage, also of the same significance. But they are in the middle of a hall full of scientific discoveries, and the party is crashed by none other than the Master, shrinking people and killing them, getting a huge charge out of it. But what he doesn't count on is a huge dose of girl power. Yes, Ada saves the day. Ada throws a grenade at him, and she also shoots him in the shoulder, wounding him. And it is after this that the Doctor realizes that she is the Ada Lovelace, and that she's with the Charles Babbage, and she sees this statue called the Silver Lady, and she realizes that it's somewhat significant and points her sonic at it and attempts to go through it and use one of the Kasavan that come through to travel, but Ada grabs her hand and it throws them off, and they end up in 1943. And they meet Noor Inayat Khan, I think I'm pronouncing her name right, whose code name was Madeline, and she was a British spy. So again, another dose of girl power. The Master tracks the Doctor down there, and she and Ada are hiding underneath the floorboards when the Master, in the company of Nazis, well, what else could it be, right, comes and searches the place, and they shoot up the place, except for one space with a rug on it, and where Ada and the Doctor are hiding. In the meantime, Daniel Barton has pretty much tracked down Graham, Yaz, and Ryan. And he has made them like public enemy number one. Revoked their passports, hacked their accounts. They got to smash their phones. They got to go off grid. And it is not good. At one point, Yaz attempts to contact her family. Another time, she attempts to contact her sister from a public call box. And they're tracked down by Barton's men. But they have up their sleeve and on their feet some of the gadgets that MI6 gave them. And of course, Ryan and Graham did not read the manual. So yes, laser shoes. Most awesome accessory ever, especially when Graham starts to dance. And they manage to elude Barton's men, but they find themselves in a warehouse. And what Barton does in the episode, his own mother, he uses the Kasavan, uses the Silver Lady to focus and bring the Kasavan through. And pretty much off his own mother, just because she didn't give him enough attention growing up. Yeah. Big bad. And even bigger bad. But the Doctor has something up her sleeve in 1943. She uses Morse code to transmit the beat of a Time Lord heart. And it's not Morse coded out at all. It is especially aimed at aimed at the Master. And they meet up on the Eiffel Tower. And he reveals his plan. Yep, after all these years, that boy is still bone dead stupid. Because he reveals that he went to Gallifrey. He doesn't say this till the end, that he burned it. Somebody burned it. And he said, you should go take a look. When was the last time you went home? But he also reveals his master plan, but she uses her sonic screwdriver to record the whole thing. In the meantime, in the present, Daniel Barton is revealing his plan. And this, for me, is super, super scary. His master plan is he's the head of a technology company. He's gotten everybody to play games, to reveal information, mother's maiden names, passwords, every photo they've liked, every food they've eaten. Sound familiar? And now it's given him access to everybody. He sends a text around the world and it says basically that the human race is going to be over in 3 minutes. Yeah, that is super, super scary. The Doctor has found the Master's TARDIS in 1943, or rather, Nora and Ada have. And she's able to track all of this stuff. And all of these places in time and space that the Kasavan have been able to go and be these interdimensional super spies. And this allows her to have a foil to the Master's plan. Not only this, but by hijacking his TARDIS, she forces him to live through the next 77 years. Wizard. So she ends up being able to write a code anytime that the army of the Kasavan is to be brought through, that it immediately shuts it down. And just as the Master's confronting everybody, the Doctor, Ada, and Nora come in and describe the foil to the plan, and the Master says, well, you're going to have to explain it to them, pointing at the Kasavan. And she holds up her sonic screwdriver and plays what she recorded, and he's sucked into their dimension and yelling doctor as loud as he can. Of course, she can't hear him. But she is still troubled by the fact that he said that they lied to her and that something was going on. And she activates something, and it activates a hologram of the Master. And he reveals that he was the one who went back to Gallifrey, and he burned it because he discovered the truth about the timeless child. Now, this is something that we have only heard about once, back in episode 2 of the previous season, called The Ghost Monument, and they mentioned the timeless child. And apparently it's something that the founders of Gallifrey have lied to people about, the whole race. And that's why the Master chose to burn it. Is he still evil? Is he still a sympathetic villain? That remains to be seen. What I wanted to address, something I was thinking about this morning before work, was Barton's speech. Now, if you remember from the David Tennant, Rose Tyler era about season 2, how they'd gone to another dimension and discovered everybody had these ear pods. And it ended up being a way for the Cybermen to take over people. And then later in the last episode with Rose of that season, we saw Bluetooth. So when that came out, it made me realize how somebody was thinking about, we ever meet aliens, or, that they think that they might be able to abuse our technology or use it to their own purposes. And for that whole year, I was seeing people with the Bluetooth gadgets in their ears and thinking, they're going to be Cybermen. Well, Barton's speech does seem to be an echo of that. An echo of the warning of, we all are so interconnected, and we use our phones. It's connected to everything. Who hasn't been hacked by somebody? Your Facebook account or any other social media, your bank account. And I've addressed this in a previous video, how a friend of mine was hacked. And it's just scary. That is one of the big human fears. So, what is next for this season? We are seeing, with the Timeless Child, a possible story arc. And last year it was pretty much devoid of story arcs. Maybe a minor one with Tim Shaw, but not really anything major, anything earth-shattering, as it has been in previous Doctor Who series of the modern era. And I have done some research, and I haven't been able to find much about it. They don't want to offer us spoilers. There are some fan theories about it. But do let me know what you think in the comments below. Who do you think the Timeless Child is? What do you think is going on with that? What do you think the season is going to be like based on this? And as always, stay tuned Don't go far, and I'll see you all next time.